Does the Abrahamic covenant still apply to the Jewish people and Israel today? Well, that's the Genesis 12:3 issue that we just talked about. Genesis 12:3, God told Abram, I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you will I curse. That's repeated to Jacob. And it's even repeated about Israel. It's also ultimately repeated about the Messiah, Jesus, as the King of Israel. But the principle, if you look at history, what happens all the time in the Bible when the people set out to curse Israel? Haman sets out to curse Israel, and he ends up on the gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. There's this blessing for blessing, cursing for cursing principle throughout the scriptures. And throughout history, we see this blessing for blessing, curse for curse. I believe it still applies because the Abrahamic covenant has never been rendered inoperative. It is still in force. Paul makes a big deal about that in Galatians 3. He says even the Sinai covenant, which was added alongside the Abrahamic covenant, even if that is somehow rendered inoperative, the original covenant, the Abrahamic covenant, still applies today, and the promises that go with it. So it's crucial to remember that this covenant still stands. In fact, that's what Paul says when he says that Jewish people remain chosen or elect and beloved for the sake of the fathers. What fathers? The fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who received the Abrahamic covenant. So the Abrahamic covenant does indeed apply. There's one other passage that I think is crucial, and a lot of times people miss the significance of this. It's Luke chapter 7. It's what I like to call the messianic endorsement of the Abrahamic covenant blessing for blessing principle. It's in Luke chapter 7. It's the story of the Roman centurion whose servant was quite ill. And the Jewish leaders, the elders of the synagogue in Capernaum, they come to the Lord Jesus to intercede for this Roman centurion, this Gentile. And this is what they say in Luke chapter 7, verse 4. When they reached Jesus, they pleaded with him earnestly, saying, he is worthy. Now, that's unusual, not what you would usually think of a Roman centurion. But he says, he is worthy for you to grant this. And then verse 5, because he loves our nation and has built us a synagogue. Apparently, he didn't build it himself. He gave the money to build the synagogue in Capernaum in the first century. Now, that's a great testimony to what this Roman centurion is like. And then many versions just say Jesus went with them. And they don't translate the conjunction that's there. But the conjunction is pretty clear. It says, and also some versions do have it, it says, so Jesus went with them, implying that having heard that he loves our nation and built our synagogue, the Lord Jesus, in response to that, because of that, goes to bless this man by healing his servant. I think that is crucial because it's a messianic endorsement of the blessing for blessing principle found in Genesis 12:3. Of course, the man sends a messenger to the Lord and says, don't trouble yourself. I am not worthy for you to come to my house. And instead, he asked the Lord to heal his servant from afar, which the Lord does, which shows the great faith of this centurion. But nevertheless, notice the Lord went to heal his servant because of the Abrahamic covenant, to bless him in light of his blessing to the Jewish people. So the Abrahamic covenant still applies today.
If you enjoyed what you just watched, please like, comment, or subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great teachings, videos on our work, and the latest updates on our ministry. If you'd like a copy of a free book I wrote entitled Isaiah 53 Explained, then please click on the link provided, and I know that you'll receive it and enjoy it. So God bless you, and shalom.